Hi everyone, my name is Vishnu Mano, and in this video we will be talking about Git and GitHub, two tools that developers use on a daily basis. If you're a beginner and you're just learning the fundamentals of programming, I wouldn't worry about Git and GitHub at all. I would just watch this video, don't do any of the stuff I'm doing. It's important you understand the concept of Git, but you don't really need to use it until you work on larger scale projects. So what is Git? Well, let's think about Google Docs. So let me open up docs.google.com. I'll just open up a random Google Doc and we'll just type, hello, my name is Vishnu. Now on Google Docs, you can see that it says last edit was seconds ago. And you can see there's a version I have at 12:17 and then a version I have at 11:56. So the version I created at 11:56 has nothing on the doc, and the current version has hello, my name is Vishnu. Now previously I had a smaller version that says print hello, and then I changed that right now. You can see this is a very detailed description of the version history, and if I want, I can go back to the empty Google Doc through this restore this version button. Now wouldn't this be nice if we had this sort of software for code? Well, the thing is, we do, and this software is called Git. Git allows us to manage different versions of our code, which is very important for large projects. Again, you don't need to download Git right now. However, if you are a more experienced programmer, Git is very helpful. So if you're on a Windows computer and you've already started programming, you know the fundamentals, then I'd recommend going to this website and downloading it. If you're on Mac, then the cool thing is Git comes pre-installed. And if you're a beginner in programming, then watch this video and understand what Git is, but you don't need to download it. So since I'm working on a Mac, as you can see here, Git comes pre-installed. So if I open up my text editor, Visual Studio Code, and this is really zoomed in, so I'll decrease the size, I can open up a folder, desktop, code, and open it up. And just for the sake of this video, I will delete this old file and I can go to View Integrated Terminal. Again, if you're a beginner, just watch the video. Don't do any of the stuff I'm doing. So the terminal basically is a way for you to interface with your computer. It's a way for you to talk to your computer, run different commands, create folders, all from the command line. It's a very helpful tool, especially in programming. And we actually will have an entire course dedicated to it. So once I create the course about the terminal, you can see a card to it above. So once you open up the terminal, you can just do Git init. Remember, if you're on Windows, you're going to have to download Git. But if you're on Mac, it's already installed. So you can see, first off, you have this master and then asterisk. That is discussing branches. So you don't need to understand branches in Git right now. Just think about it as the main branch. So it's just your main code. Now, I have this empty directory or empty folder. So if we create a notes.txt in here, you can see that I have two unsaved changes. Now, dstore is just a random settings file. Don't worry about that. So you can see that notes.txt has been created, and that's one change that's been made. So in order to document this change, I can go to my command line and say git status. And you can see that notes.txt has been changed because it was created. There wasn't a notes.txt before, and now it's been created. So in order to document this creation of notes.txt, I can say git add dot. So dot just means add every change I've made to Git. Now if I check git status, you can see that this has turned green because now I've added it, but now I need to commit it to Git. So if I do git commit and then -m, which stands for message, and I just write created notes, you can see that the changes have disappeared and notes has now been created. And now if you go to git status, you can see there's nothing, no changes. Every change I create, I can document, and therefore I can revert back to one of the old changes that I made. So for example, if I press hello and go to the source control tab, you can see that notes.txt has changed. In the original file, there was nothing, and now there's hello. And now back on the terminal, I can just put git status and see that notes.txt has been modified. So git add dot, we need to add all the changes, and now if we look at the status, it's turned to green because we added it. And then now if we commit it with a message that just says added hello, you can see that my source control tab basically says no more changes, and if you look at status, it says nothing to commit. This is how Git works. It allows us to basically manage different versions of our code. Right now, I'm just doing this on a text file because I don't expect you to know a programming language since this is just a fundamentals course. But as long as you understand the basic idea of Git, it allows you to manage different versions. That's all you need to know. Now, if you're a beginner, this next step will be especially helpful. I'd recommend creating an account on github.com. This is my account, github.com/VishnuMano. And although Git and GitHub have very similar names, don't think of the two as related topics. Git basically is a software that's on your computer that allows you to manage versions. GitHub is on the cloud, so it's not downloaded onto your computer, and it allows you to store your code on the cloud. Of course, Git and GitHub have some similarities. GitHub uses Git, so basically you can use GitHub to store different versions of your code on the cloud, but you don't need to understand that as a beginner. So I would just recommend creating an account on github.com, and then in this case you can visit my account github.com/VishnuMano and see what projects I've been working on. The cool thing about GitHub is if you have friends who code, you can do collaborative projects together and share the directory. Also, what's really cool is that if you're applying for a job or an internship as a high schooler, you can share your GitHub portfolio with your employer just to show them proof of the programming knowledge you have. This is the reason I recommend using GitHub to store all of your code. Anything you learn from this platform, I'd recommend pushing to GitHub. We'll have an entire course related to Git and GitHub just for beginners to understand, and once I create that, that will be in the card above. That's it for this video. In the next video, we will basically be concluding this Introduction to Programming course. I'll see you in the next one.